Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Veronia, and today I want to actually talk about some of the things that may be keeping you from being rich or even wealthy over time. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this video is because a lot of us probably haven't come from a rich background or a wealthy background, and we probably haven't been given like a big fat inheritance or anything like that. However, we may feel that actually, even though we may not have come from that background, we really do want to be able to actually build wealth for our families, or maybe just for our generations, or just to have a different life compared to what we currently have now. So in this video, I want to talk about some of the key reasons that are maybe stopping you from actually gaining wealth over time. So the first thing that I think is actually stopping you from getting rich or wealthy is just trying to get rich quick. Now, the reason I wanted to get that out of the way is because I just feel that sometimes there are just certain things and certain investments that people really want to get into because they really want to be able to get rich very, very quickly. So for example, people may be investing in things that they don't understand because they think that they're more likely to make a lot of money, when in reality there is probably only a small proportion of people that generally will make money from that particular investment, whereas the majority of people, particularly because they don't understand it, they're actually more likely to end up losing money and end up going broke over time rather than actually getting rich. And I think you'd actually be surprised that a lot of wealthy people have not actually just gained wealth within a day or within a month, for example. A lot of them will have generally worked on this over time, and then at some point their results would have compounded and they would essentially be rich over time again. So I would say if you're trying to be very rich quick, you're less likely to actually become rich or wealthy, because what you might essentially find is that you're trying to dip into all of these investments or these different schemes without understanding it, and you probably won't end up making money at the end of it anyway. So the next reason you're less likely to be rich or wealthy over time is the fact that you actually always just save your money and you never invest your money. Now, before you start getting confused, yes, I definitely think saving money is a core foundation when it comes to your personal finances. And for me, if you haven't got the ability to actually save money, you're less likely to invest your money. But guys, as I always say, saving money is only going to take you so far, and there are going to be certain things that you do want to save for, but there are going to be other things that you probably will want to invest your money for. Now, again, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not telling you, what to do with your money, but essentially you're less likely to end up building wealth and actually getting rich if you always just save your money. And a big reason for that is because of inflation. Now, if you don't really know what inflation is, it's basically the power of your pounds or dollars actually decreasing over time, and that's when you start to see the cost of goods and services going up as well. And so why that's really important is because something that costs maybe £1 or $1 today is not going to cost the same as it is in the next 10 years. Now, for example, let's say that inflation is 2% each year, which is something that has happened in the past. If you have inflation at 2% each year, but your bank is only giving you 0.5% in interest when you actually have your savings in the bank, then technically you are actually losing money over time. But if you maybe decided to invest that money and maybe actually invest in certain assets, let's say that you were able to invest in the stock market, and on average you were maybe able to get a 6% return, which can be considered quite conservative. Even if you do have inflation at 2%, you will still have a return of at least 4%. So that means that essentially you won't be losing money over time. In fact, you'll actually be making money over time as well. Now, again, when it comes to investing, you're never really guaranteed to make those returns, but what you really want to think about are your long-term goals. And if you are actually planning to invest in the long term, then actually if we look at the previous years, things like the stock market or the property market has generally had an upwards trend. Now, of course, we can't always predict the future just by looking at our previous performance. However, I do think that can give us a good indicator. But then also at the same time, if you believe that our economy is still going to grow over time, then most likely your assets are also going to grow over time as well. And again, I'm specifically talking about the long term. There probably will be some short-term swings, so you're not always going to be guaranteed to make money at that point. However, if you do have that long-term view, then you will probably have the view that your assets are likely to go up in value over time, even if there are any short-term swings. And again, you really want to be doing that so that you're also prepared for things like inflation, because again, you really don't want to be losing money over time. Now, remember, as mentioned, there are going to be certain things that you want to save for and certain things that you probably want to invest for. So those are going to be really key things that you do want to think about. And I do actually have a video where I talk about that in a bit more detail in terms of whether you should be saving or investing your money. So definitely check that video out if you haven't already. I will of course link that up here for you and in the description below. But essentially, most people aren't going to end up building wealth or being rich over time because they aren't actually investing their money. And if you're liking this video so far, then feel free to give me a thumbs up, as it really does help to support the channel. Plus, it's free. So the third thing that could potentially be stopping you from building wealth or being rich over time is not actually having a financial plan. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people will have dreams, but when it comes to actually creating a solid plan for them to work towards, towards it, that's when people kind of maybe go a bit quiet and they have no idea how they're going to reach it. So for example, if you were to say that I want to be rich when I grow up, well, what does that actually mean? And how do you even know that you've made it to being rich if you haven't actually measured it properly? And then the other thing I would say is if you don't actually have a financial plan to work towards it, then number one, you're not really going to know what you should be doing at the start to actually achieve it. But then the second thing is you wouldn't have actually considered what you need to be putting in place to make sure that you actually achieve those goals and that essentially what you're working towards does happen. Now, if creating a financial plan is something that you know you should be doing, but you have no idea how to start, then definitely check out my free guide where I essentially outline my own financial plan to basically build wealth over time and essentially become financially independent. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. I will of course link that in the description below for you. Now, the third thing I think might be stopping you from actually getting rich or wealthy over time is not actually putting in the work. Now, I know that this may trigger some people, but guys, if you do not want to go and put in the work when it comes to your finances, then how would you expect to actually gain wealth over time? Because again, I'm sorry to say, but those get rich quick schemes are not going to help. Now, when I'm talking about actually putting in the work, I'm essentially asking you, do you actually know what is going on with your finances? And again, have you taken the time to actually create your financial plan so that you can end up reaching your goals of actually being wealthy and rich over time? If you haven't done that, but then at the same time, you've still got time to be sitting on Netflix for 2 to 3 hours a day, then you really want to be asking yourself, you know, is this something that I genuinely do want to achieve and actually put time in to make sure that I achieve it in the time that I want to? Now, again, I am not saying that you should completely cut out Netflix and that's all you should be doing, but really think about how you're actually using your time and whether you're actually putting in work to really start working towards your financial goals. So for example, are you educating yourself by maybe reading books or magazines that really relate to actually building wealth over time? I mean, if you are looking for some wealth building books, I have some of my favorite in the description below for you. But then you also want to be thinking about, you know, are you spending some time actually looking at your net worth statement and figuring out how to actually improve on your net worth statement? Or are you actually even doing a financial audit in the first place and making sure you already know what is happening with your finances? Are you even creating a budget so that you know what income is coming in versus what expenses are coming out? So all of these things are probably going to take time and it's going to take an element of work from you. So you really want to ask yourself, if I want to be rich or wealthy in the future, am I prepared to do that work today to make sure that I am then working towards that goal so that I can achieve that goal in the time frame that I want? And then the next point I think maybe actually stopping you from getting rich or wealthy is the fact that you are not willing to delay gratification. Now again, guys, I know the holiday is calling, Bora Bora is calling, Hakkasan is calling, you want to be enjoying life. However, you really want to think about what you want to also be doing in the future. So for example, if you do want to be financially independent and you want the time freedom where you can essentially do what you want to do when you want to do and you don't necessarily have to think about paying bills, then that's going to take some level of actually sacrificing today to actually build that tomorrow. And the one mistake I tend to see, particularly in our generation, is the fact that we always want that instant gratification. So we always want to buy things now, and then sometimes we even want to pay later for it because we want that immediate gratification. And yes, I am talking about those buy now, pay later schemes that I know some of you have started to really start enjoying. But again, you really want to be thinking about that delayed gratification versus your immediate gratification, because you really want to be asking yourself, some of the materialistic things that you're buying, do you really need that now? And are you prepared to actually sacrifice your future for it today? Now again, I will never say that you should not be spending any of your money and that you should only just be preparing for tomorrow, because you never know what will actually happen today. However, what I'm saying is that essentially you want to create a system where you can do both. So you can actually start preparing for your future, but at the same time, you can also live for today and you can also enjoy today as well. But what most people will do is they will just live for today and forget about their tomorrow. Now, the next thing I think will probably be stopping you from getting rich or wealthy over time is actually surrounding yourself with the wrong people. Now, the reason why I say this, and I'm not telling you to now go and cut all of your friends or anything like that, but what I've seen is if you are not hanging around like-minded people that genuinely want to actually improve their finances and actually want to build wealth over time, then you're probably going to end up doing the opposite. So for example, if you've got friends that always want to be going to Hakkasan and the Shard every single week, and they're also using their credit card to even finance that lifestyle, then most likely you're probably going to do those same actions. Whereas if you actually surround yourself with people that are genuinely working towards building wealth, then that's going to be reflected in your actions as well. And now again, I don't want you to start calling up your friends telling you that you're no longer friends because Auntie V went and told you that you should cut them off. No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that if you truly do want to build wealth and actually end up becoming financially free, you want to start thinking about the community that you have around you so that you can surround yourself with like-minded people and so you can essentially go on this journey together. Now, for example, in my case, I'm part of something called Financial Joy Academy, where we basically have a community of people who are all trying to reach financial independence. And that that's actually run by Ken and Mary from The Humble Penny, and I absolutely love it because we all have these similar mindsets, even though we may be going on different journeys. So if you're maybe looking for a community or anything like that, I'll definitely leave a link in the description below for you. So the next reason I think will be stopping you from actually getting rich or gaining wealth is the fact that you haven't actually worked on your mindset. Now, when it comes to actually managing and growing your money, I will definitely agree that it's actually 80% mindset and behavior and only 20% strategy and head knowledge. And the reason why I say that is because you can have all the strategies in place, you can have all the tips and tricks, and even on my channel I will share with you some of the tips and tricks. But guys, if you don't actually start focusing on your own money mindset and actually understanding your beliefs about money and how you can actually change that, then I'm not gonna lie, those strategies that you had, they're just going to remain obsolete and you're probably not going to make a difference with your personal finances. Now that might be a bit difficult to hear, but it's something that I do think is so important and that people just don't really necessarily talk about very often, because there are going to be certain things where if you haven't actually worked on your money mindset, then this can actually make a huge detriment to your wealth building. So for example, when it comes to actually investing your money, and let's say you've decided to start investing in the stock market, and in this case you've maybe invested £5,000 or dollars in, and you're feeling quite happy with yourself because next month your investments actually go up by about 10%, which is happy days. But let's say that over the next few months your investments have actually gone down by 15%. So you were up by 10%, but then now you're suddenly down minus 5%. If you haven't actually worked on your money mindset and you're supposed to be investing for the long term, then you could be at risk of basically just getting so worried when it comes to the stock market, and then essentially you end up selling at a loss because you feel like the stock market is going to keep going down, because number one, you probably haven't done your research, and then number two, because you've been watching the news about the stock market going down, you essentially think that you're going to lose all of your money, and then you end up selling at a loss, not knowing that a few months later, if you hadn't sold, you'd actually be up by like 15% or something. So until you actually focus on your mindset, and I'm not specifically even just talking about investing, I'm talking about all aspects of wealth building, whether that be controlling your money through your budgets or actually saving your money or actually focusing on your long-term goals or investing, you really want to make sure that working on your mindset is going to be one of the most important things you can do when it comes to your wealth building, because otherwise, again, the strategies you learn could essentially just become obsolete. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, what other things do you think are preventing people from building wealth or being rich over time? I do post every Tuesday and Friday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on Tuesday.